Y bueno, oficialmente se llama subjunctive with conjunctions. But what's a conjunction? They're just phrases, again, it's a fancy term for phrases that connect ideas. Because you know, when we're using the subjunctive, we're connecting one idea with another idea. That's basically what the subjunctive does. And typically we use that connector K to connect the ideas. However, en estas páginas tenemos otros conectores. Estos conectores en la página 346 sí tienen K, pero en la página 347 solo tenemos dos con el conector K. Ok, entonces para empezar, tengo un contexto muy necesario. Y el contexto que tenemos es montar en bicicleta con casco. ¿Ok? Eso es muy importante para entender o asociar la gramática y los usos gramaticales. Entonces, ¿entienden, chicos? Montar en bicicleta, ¿no? Y casco, ¿no? Es el sombrero o lo que sea que protege el cerebro, o protege la cabeza. Y chicos, yo soy mamá y me importa mucho mi familia, entonces me gusta ir en bicicleta y yo voy al trabajo por bicicleta para conservar energía y siempre llevo mi casco para proteger mi cabeza. En estos ejemplos, chicos, primero es importante que entiendan o comprendan el contexto. ¿Está claro? ¿Entienden? Yo voy al trabajo por bicicleta para conservar energía, ¿no? Ok, ahora examinemos la gramática, ¿no? Y aquí tengo para conservar. Chicos, conservar es un infinitivo, indicativo o subjuntivo. ¿Cómo clasificamos conservar? Infinitivo, exactamente, es un infinitivo. Y ahora vamos a hablar por qué, ¿ok? So what's this saying? Yo voy al trabajo por bicicleta para conservar energía. What's para conservar energía saying in English?
To save energy.
To save energy, exactly. So conservar energía is to save energy. And in Spanish, we throw in para to kind of convey the idea of in order to. In order to. So what's the rule here? What do you need to know for the test and on the super site in terms of para? What you need to know is para is a preposition, and para, whenever we have any prepositions, por, para, de, con, sin, we use the infinitive after prepositions. Infinitives are always after prepositions. So if you see, and we'll go through all of these, but you can see a lot of them on your paper below. When you see de, well actually this is the subjunctive, but if you took away all these K's on your paper below, if you took away all the K's, you'd be left with prepositions. Para, de, sin. And when you have prepositions in Spanish, you always leave the verb in its infinitive form. Por, I could say por ir en bicicleta. Por ir, infinitivo. Para conservar. De empezar, or something like that. We'll see lots more examples, but just keep in mind on the superset and on the test, if you see a preposition and then the blank, you're not going to do anything to the verb. Ok, ¿por qué? Porque en este ejemplo tenemos el subjuntivo, aprendan. Pero primero vamos a repasar el contexto. También voy al trabajo por bicicleta para que mis hijos aprendan a conservar energía. Ok, primero hablemos del contexto. So most of you all know, and I'm doing physical therapy, and hopefully like within the next month, I'll be able to resume taking my kids to school on our cargo bike. But most of you all know, I ride a bike with the kids in the front, and I take them to school on Wentworth. And I do this because why? I like to ride my bike to work because I only live like 2 miles away. and, reducing carbon footprint, saving money on parking. It's actually much quicker by the time you drive, park, walk. It's a lot quicker just door to door on a bike. There's a lot of advantages, but it's to conserve energy, but also I'm a mother and I have kids. And when you think about the environment, you think about future generations. So what do you think this is saying? So the other reason why I go to work by bike is because why?
To teach your kids.
Yeah, so that my kids learn how to conserve energy. In the United States, we're very car dependent, but we don't have to be, especially in Charleston. It's flat. We usually have good weather. There's really no need to drive, and I'm setting an example. And in this particular example, I still have para. I'm still using para, but how is aprendan used? Is it an infinitive? No, it's not. Why did I not use it in its infinitive form? In the previous example, I had para conservar energía. But what's changed from this example grammatically versus the previous example? What's changed? I have K. First of all, we've got K. And why did I use K? Why do I need K here? So that, exactly. So that, and also because I have this new subject. In the previous example, and what we know about infinitives are they're very general. We don't have a new subject with infinitives. We can't have a subject with an infinitive because if we have a subject, we need to conjugate the verb. And now I'm saying so that my kids learn. I've introduced a new subject with para, I have K, and therefore aprendan is what? Subjuntivo or indicativo? It's actually subjuntivo. And with all of these examples, we're not going to be even choosing between the indicative. So be careful on the homework and on the test when you see these conjunctions, these ambiguous words that are integrated in the sentence and don't follow that nice, neat format of phrase K subjunctive or phrase K indicative. With these, it's really subjunctive versus infinitives, okay? Indicative is not really going to be an option here. Okay, because aprender is our infinitive. Aprendan is the subjunctive, okay? Well, that's para versus para que. Again, we're just comparing infinitive versus subjunctive. So keep this in mind when you're doing your homework because I really feel like the book does not do a very good job explaining this concept. They just give you the vocab and a couple of bullet points and then they're like, here, go. But I really think lots of examples are helpful. So when you're doing your homework, maybe reference this handout or access this video on YouTube. The link will be on Oaks. And you can go right to this section. Oh, what'd she say about para versus para que, okay? Para, infinitive, para que, subjunctive. Boom. That's basically what you're doing. Okay, y otro ejemplo. Aquí la frase es antes de. ¿Cómo se dice antes de? It's not after, it's before. Because after is what? Después, okay? It's a very common error, snap on snap, to think antes de means after. It really means before, because después is after. Antes de. What's de again? Not in English, but grammatically, para is a preposition, de is another preposition, okay? So what happens here grammatically? Ir is what? Infinitive or subjunctive? Infinitive. Always infinitives after prepositions. Por, para, con, sin, de. Infinitive. Antes de ir en bicicleta siempre nos ponemos los cascos. No? Cascos. Son cascos. Okay? So what's this saying? We know antes means what? Ante means before what? Before going on the bike. Exactly. In English we say going, but in Spanish we just use the infinitive. Before going on a bike. Siempre nos ponemos los cascos. We always wear our helmets. I have to protect their brains and I have to, set a good example. Sometimes I see parents with kids wearing their helmets, but the parents not wearing the helmet. And I'm like, how ironic. Like, if there's a crash, then now you're just ruining your brain and your kids will have to grow up with a vegetable or not a parent around. Put your helmet on. Be a good example. But I see it all the time. But I always wear my helmet so my kids can see that we wear it. Ok, otro ejemplo. Aquí, ¿cuál es la diferencia gramática? Antes de que. Antes de que salgamos. ¿Es el infinitivo o subjuntivo? Subjuntivo. ¿Por qué? Que. Exactamente. So when you do your superset homework, really reference these examples. Antes de, infinitive. Antes de que, subjunctive. It's good to know that, but why? My job is to explain why, or have you figure out why. Why are we using this subjunctive here? Because why aren't we just using salir, the infinitive of salgamos? Why did I put this verb in the subjunctive? What are we saying? Antes de means what? Instead of antes de ir, which is before going, I'm saying antes de que salgamos. Salgamos is in what form? Nosotros, because I'm talking about mis hijos y yo. Antes de nosotros. So why do I have to use the subjunctive of salir? Why don't I just say antes de que salir? Or antes de salir? Specific subject, right. I'm not just saying in general. Remember, infinitives are just general, no subject. But I'm talking about we. We what? Before we, or leave campus, vamos a poner los cascos otra vez, okay? So because I have the que in a new subject, I'm going to use the subjunctive of salgamos. Okay. So infinitives are used after prepositions de and de, and I use an example with antes. But don't forget, después still applies. Antes means what? Before. Después means after. But they both have de, and so we keep our verbs in the infinitive form, because those are prepositions. However, we're going to use the subjunctive when we have antes de and después de, but we've included what? The que. And we've got the que because why? Salgamos, regresemos. Why wouldn't I just keep it in the infinitive? It seems unnecessary to put the verb in the subjunctive. That's so much harder. But I need to throw in que and conjugate my verb in the subjunctive because why?
Because you're referring to like yourself instead of...
Exactly, Eris. Because I'm introducing a new subject, nosotros. I'm not saying in general, before going or after returning. I'm introducing we leave or after we return. Or excuse me, after we return. Okay? So we would use that. Otro ejemplo menos obvio. Llevamos los cascos en caso de que. What do you think en caso de que means? It looks kind of like English. In case. In case what? In case. Who's the subject? We've got que. So now we know we have a subject and we're not using the infinitive. In case what? Who am I talking about? You can tell by the ending. Most is referring to whom again? Us. We. Nosotros. It's not necessary to include it because the ending's obvious. It can only be nosotros. In case we what? Choquemos con otro carro. Or que tengamos un accidente. This is like muy triste, but that's the reality of biking downtown. In case what? We choquemos. That's a verb from last fall. 201. Crash. Chocar is the infinitive. So notice the subjunctive conjugation changes to QUE because why? It's a car verb, right? Tocar. Toquemos. Chocar. Choquemos. Don't forget those rules. And then, or if we crash with another car, which I'm sure you've seen happen. Or what? Tengamos un accidente? Have an accident, right. Tengamos, tener, subjuntivo. So, llevamos los cascos. What am I talking about? What are cascos? Yeah, we wear helmets in caso de que. And en caso de que means what again? In case. And we use que here because I'm not just saying in case something in general. I've got a new subject, nosotros, okay? Otro ejemplo. No podemos proteger. And notice podemos. What is podemos? Able to. So we what? We're not able to what? Protect what? What do you think cerebros are? If you had to guess, exactly, brains. It looks like what word kind of in English? Cerebral, exactly. So it's kind of like a cognate. No podemos proteger nuestros cerebros sin que. We know what sin means. Sin is the opposite of con. So we know like without, exactly. So we can't protect our brains sin que nos pongamos nuestros cascos without putting on our helmets. Exactly. So that's all we're saying in English, but in Spanish, when we have this expresión sin que, we have to use the subjunctive in our subsequent verb. So nos pongamos is the subjunctive of what infinitive? Pongamos is the subjunctive of poner. So what's up with the nos? Last fall we had poner la mesa, set the table. Or like poner los libros. Before every test I'm like, pongan sus materiales en sus mochilas or debajo de sus pupitres. Poner by itself just means to put. But ponerse means the reflexive of poner, nos pongamos, or me ponga. Now I'm saying I'm putting it where? On myself. Exactly. That's a reflexive action. That's why we have nos pongamos. So again, just a little refresher. When we have se on the end of a verb, we know we need a reflexive pronoun. You'll see that on the site. Or maybe even on the text. Siempre llevo mi casco a menos que yo esté en mi casa. Menos reminds you of what? We have más, antónimo de menos. So más means what? More. Menos means less. But it's not really saying less. It's saying a little bit more than less. That makes sense. So let's figure it out. Siempre llevo mi casco. So I'm talking about myself. I what? What's a casco again? I always what? Wear my helmet. This is a little bit of a stretch. I was just trying to keep the context and apply this concept, but it's kind of random. I always wear my helmet. What do you think a menos que yo esté en mi casa is saying? You know, menos means less, unless I'm at my house, or really anywhere else, except for my bike. Yeah, exactly. Or at work, or going to the grocery store. Or I just wear my helmet all the time. It was a little bit of a stretch, but we're connecting the dots. A menos means unless. I've got the que, and therefore I'm using the subjunctive. Este, the subjunctive of estar. Okay? Otro ejemplo. Entonces, les recomiendo que. What do we know about les recomiendo? Who's recommending? I am. Who am I recommending it to? You all. Exactly. You're the indirect object of my recommendation. Therefore, monten. I'm using the subjunctive after que in the ustedes form. So I'm saying I recommend that who? Ustedes. Yeah. You all what? First I'm recommending that you what? Monten en sus bicicletas. Yeah. I want you to ride your bikes or your motorcycle. Motocicleta con tal de que lleven sus cascos. So I want you to ride your bike, blank. Lleven sus cascos. What are cascos? Helmets. Yeah. Like Contable que doesn't look anything like English, but we're saying what? I recommend that you ride your bikes, blank, you wear your helmets. Yeah, as long as you wear your helmets, okay? As long as, or only, it's not a very obvious phrase, but if you use the context, you can figure it out. The problem is, on the supersite, you're gonna have to produce this. So, grammatically speaking, on the supersite or on the test, you're looking at the K, and then you see this weird phrase from the book, and you're like, I don't really know what that's saying, but I see a K and I see that weird phrase, and then I know that this verb has to be in the subjunctive, okay? That's kind of like the process that you're going through to produce the correct response. Llevar, lleven. And even though I don't have a subject here, I'm going all the way back to that pronoun, les, ustedes, okay. And I'm seeing this other verb, and I know that needs to be in the ustedes form. So to conclude, escapa. Escapa is a word in Spanish for what? Escape, right? Escapa is our acronym for these phrases along with K that are used with the subjunctive. So just like previous chapters or previous phrases, you don't necessarily need to memorize what all of these words mean, like contable que means as long as, or menos que means unless. You don't need to think about it like that. The strategy that you need to use to be successful on the supersite and the test is now, it's one of those escapa phrases with K, and therefore I use the subjunctive. If I take away the K, and I have en caso de, or sin, or con tal de, or a menos, or para, or antes de, I'm not going to use the subjunctive. I would use what? Indicative or infinitive? Infinitive, exactly. This is subjunctive versus infinitive. And we use the infinitive because de, sin, etc. are prepositions. And por applies to this as well. Because we know porque means because. We know porque on its own you would actually use not the subjunctive, but the indicative, like estudio en la biblioteca porque no puedo concentrar en mi casa, for example. Porque, you just use the indicative. We've been using that since Spanish 101. But if I use por without a K, I'm going to use an infinitive because infinitives are followed by prepositions. Por, para, con, sin, de, etc. So that's one use of the subjunctive with conjunctions, okay? Otro uso del subjuntivo. And this is the difference between page 346 and 347. And if I wasn't going through this with you and you had to rely on your book to teach this to yourself, it would be very difficult because there's nothing very clear in the book that we're using this on page 347 with future events. Okay, so 346 is subjunctive versus infinitives. Okay, 347 is subjunctive versus indicative. And the only way you can determine whether or not you use the subjunctive is if you're referencing the future. Okay, so right now, I just want you to read the statements and decide futuro or no, sí or no. Okay, see if you figure out. Am I referencing in general actions, or is there a reference to the future? That's the strategy you're going to implement on the supersite and the test to determine whether or not you use subjunctive or indicative, not infinitive, indicative. So, mis hijos y yo siempre llevamos los cascos cuando montamos en bicicleta. What's this saying? You have to kind of figure out what it's saying to decide futuro or no. Mis hijos y yo siempre. What siempre mean? Always. Is always a reference to something that you generally do? Or is that a reference to the future? Generally do. Like, I always drink, beer with my hamburgers. Or I always study in the library. Or I always stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, for example. Or I always sleep in on Saturdays. That's just general info. So, because it's general info, montamos after cuando uses the subjunctive or indicative. Montamos is subjunctive or indicative? Just indicative. This is what we've been doing since like Spanish 101. So we're using the indicative because this is just a general statement. We always wear our helmets when we ride on the bike. Punto. Okay? However, we can cuando to talk about el futuro. Here's an example with el futuro. Cuando mis hijos sean grandes, creo que van a llevar sus cascos. So here we have cuando again. Why is this a reference to the future? What do you know about my children? Son pequeños or son grandes? Son pequeños. Right now. But someday, they'll be big. And so, this is a reference to the future because I'm saying what? Cuando mis hijos sean grandes? When my kids are big. Right? Like grown up. You know they're not grown up now, so you know this is a reference to the future. And what happens with cuando after a reference to the future? We use the subjunctive. So sean is in the subjunctive, which is easy to recognize because you're like, oh, sean, that's the subjunctive of ser. But guess what you're going to have to do on the supersite? You're going to have to choose if it's going to be son or sean, indicative or subjunctive. And you do that by referencing page 347, your notes, and determining if it's a reference to the future with cuando, then we use the subjunctive. ¿Entienden? Más o menos. Práctica. La contaminación del aire va a continuar hasta que encontremos otras formas de energía. So remember, you're determining futuro or no. ¿Es una referencia de futuro o no? ¿Tenemos una referencia al futuro aquí o no? ¿Sí o no? Contaminación del aire va a continuar. ¿Cómo se dice va a continuar en inglés? Wait. Más o menos continuar is continue, but what's va? No? Going to continue. Exactly. Ir, va is the conjugation, so going to continue. Futuro or no? Futuro. Sí. So when you see ir plus a plus infinitive, then you're like, oh, that's definitely future. What happens when we have a reference to the future? Subjuntivo. Right, exactly. Encontremos. El subjuntivo de encontrar. And then just to clarify, what's this saying? What's contaminación de aire? Air pollution is going to continue hasta que encontremos otras formas de energía. So if you had to guess, what's the rest of the sentence saying? Hasta mañana. Hasta el miércoles. When you say that to somebody, hasta luego. What are you really saying? What's hasta meaning? Yeah, más o menos. Until. So when we say hasta mañana, we're saying until tomorrow. Until. Hasta que still means until. Encontremos otras formas de energía. Until we what? Until we find other forms of energy. Otro ejemplo. Antes, muchas personas no reciclaban. Okay? A reference. What's reciclaban? A reference to what? Past, present, or future? What do you remember reciclaban? Espero que recuerden. What is weird about reciclaban? Hopefully you're having a little PTSD from chapters maybe 10, definitely chapter 11. Flashbacks, painful memories from what? Imperfect versus predator. Remember that? We did. You might also have painful memories of cleaning the house. But reciclaban is the imperfect. But you don't even need to identify that. What you should immediately recognize is that's a reference to what? The past. So look what's up with our verb. Is that the subjunctive? No. It's not the subjunctive. So we still have this phrase, hasta que. But we're not putting our verb in the subjunctive because why? Is this a future reference? No, it's not. So we're going to leave it. And actually, construyó is the indicative. The preterite is the indicative. Guess what? We get to learn this semester. the imperfect subjunctive. So just when you get all nice and comfy cozy with the subjunctive versus indicative versus infinitive, the book's like, now we're just going to step it up a notch and you have to learn a whole new set of conjugations called the imperfect subjunctive. But that's not until March or April after spring break, so you'll hopefully be refreshed. Okay, vamos a